Hello everyone. So today's session, actually I am channeling the Pleiadians, and I'm asking them about the resurrection and the crucifixion, that the events of Jesus. Since today is like the Easter weekend, and I would like to wish you all happy Easter. And I just finished this session, so let me tell you a little bit what I learned from the session, and then I will play the session. Actually, in the session, they are stating that Jesus, there were negative entities. Okay, there were negative entities who did not want Jesus to share his messages. This always happens, my friends. Whenever whenever there is someone who is positive, okay, there will be negative entities trying to stop such a person. And I have felt it in my life as well, and many of you also have commented on the previous video I made about how the dark forces, they try to stop the light. And it is pretty much almost the same thing that happened with Jesus, but in an extreme way, because at that time period there was no the quarantine, right? The current quarantine on earth does not allow any outside entity to come in earth without the permission of the Council of Planets or the Galactic Federation. So back in the day of Jesus Christ, there was no quarantine, so any entity, right, would come into earth. And that is also the reason, I would think that is the reason why we have so many gods who were from that period. And currently we don't have that many gods, right? Because in that period there was no quarantine, and so many of these otherworldly entities, these higher beings, were coming to earth to share the messages, right? And that is how many of them became gods, because they have they are highly evolved, and they have more consciousness power. And yeah, so let me play the video, and the session is really interesting. And thank you so much for watching the video. See you soon.
We are the Pleiadians, and we greet you in the love and in the light of the One Supreme Creator. Before we start sharing our insights, we would like to warn you to use your discernment when listening to our messages, because your free will is the most valuable thing we must preserve. This instrument today has agreed to step aside when we speak through him. And today, this instrument seeks to understand the true events that occurred during the crucifixion and resurrection of the one known to your kind as Jesus of Nazareth, who had come to your planet from the fourth density consciousness at that time-space period, from the social memory complex that had started from the origins of the Sirian star system. However, at this level of fourth density, due to merging of the social memory complex, there is no need for names. Hence, there is no name for this social memory complex of which this entity Jesus of Nazareth is now a part of. This entity at present resides and learns the lessons of wisdom of the fifth density consciousness. This had been a dangerous mission for this entity to come on earth to share the love and light in the purest form. For in its coming, the love light spread faster than before on your planet. The events we are going to tell you today happened in your time-space at the time of the existence of this entity. We can also sense that the previous session this instrument had with Metatron, a magnetic consciousness, has clearly revealed the soul evolution of this entity. Hence, we see no need to comment on this further. We will share those insights that have not already been revealed to your kind, keeping in mind the free will upon your mind-body-spirit complex. This entity known as Jesus of Nazareth was able to perform healing of those sick entities due to its origins from the Sirian star system. The Sirians specialize in healings of the physical vehicles to an incredible 360 degree. Therefore, this entity had innate healing qualities due to this divine connection. This entity, after realizing its divine origins and on connecting with the infinity consciousness, was able to activate these powers that are thought of as miracles to people of your kind, which include the distortions of healing the sick, calming the storms, and even healing the people who have almost died. This entity, on sharing this divine love light, was not of liking to the so-called Orions and their reptilian subordinates, who did not like this free sharing of love lights on your planet at that time-space. The negatively oriented Orions and reptilian humanoids' main objective was to turn the cycle of this planet into the negative self-service agenda. However, upon the coming of this entity, the cycle started to change into positive love light due to its pure sharing of this infinity consciousness. At that time space, several of the Jewish teachers and leaders under the influence of the Orion entities and the shape-shifting reptilians who replaced many of the Jewish leaders did not like what this entity was doing. They created and started negative distortions by objecting this love and light being shared by this entity. These shape-shifting humanoid reptilians in the form of these Jewish leaders directed its human subordinates who follow commands of their authorities to arrest this entity in order to get rid of this entity from that time space. This was also facilitated by an entity known in your vibratory sound complex terms as Judas, who in exchange of monetary benefit revealed the identity of the one known as Jesus of Nazareth. This led to the capture of this entity known as Jesus upon the control of the negatively polarized reptilian humanoids. These reptilian humanoids were not independent, hence they took this extremely divine entity before the Orion Council, and they decided that this entity is a threat to their negative self-service agenda. Hence it should be stopped by killing it. This Orion Council directed the Roman human soldiers and the reptilian shapeshifters to physically hurt this entity and beat his physical vehicle. Further, upon making the entity blood-laden and its so-called cloths torn, a thorn head crown was put upon this entity and forced to carry the so-called cross made of cedar up to the mountain where it would be nailed upon it. This mountain was given the vibratory sound complex of skull, and the reptilian soldiers nailed this divine entity to the cross and taunted him, stating that he was not a divine entity from the infinity consciousness. At this time, the Syrian High Council wanted to interfere. However, they realized that interference is the distortion of the negatively oriented entities who do not respect free will of other entities. The negatively oriented entities want free will to end and want control of all entities. The Syrian High Council stopped at realizing this and did not interfere the completion of this crucifixion of this divine entity. This entity's soul separated from its physical vehicle, and this entity, due to being able to forgive, went straight to the next dimension. However, its mission had not been completed yet. During the death of this divine entity, there was an earthquake of 9.1 magnitude in your Hector scale that shook the lands. The Syrian High Council, realizing that they could not allow the negatively oriented to win on Earth, appeared before only one, a mind-body-spirit complex named as Joseph in your vibratory sound complex terms, and revealed the mission of this entity. This entity, known as Joseph, then came and placed the body of this entity in a tomb and closed it, wherein the Syrian High Council healed the physical vehicle of this entity known as Jesus of Nazareth using their thought power, so it could become healed and continue its mission of sharing love and light. Then on a so-called Sunday morning, during that time period, a woman body complex approached the tomb of this entity and found it to be missing. This woman also encountered the Syrians, who told her that Jesus of Nazareth lives and he would rise again on the third day. This woman then spread the message of hope amongst the people at that time-space period, which helped spread more positivity and hope. Then for the next 40 days, this divine entity named Jesus of Nazareth appeared in various forms since it belonged to the later fourth density consciousness. It could use its thoughts to appear before people and also appear in the same physical vehicle that it had incarnated on. The later fourth density is the phase of intermission between the physical vehicle and the soul itself. This entity known as Jesus was able to use this ability to share more love and light in your planet. He further taught many that forgiveness was the only way that he would be connected with infinity intelligence. And those who can activate this infinite intelligence by pondering within would never die, for there is no death. Only life after life and experience after experience. Therefore, beloveds, we leave you now in the love and in the light of the one Supreme Creator, who is within each of us and within all things in the cosmos. Bye.